Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time from Jumpin' Galaxies. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos or topics or reactions or commentaries, whatever, feel free to send them either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. They do pretty much anything. And this is... I don't watch a lot of wrestling nowadays. I just don't. Because it'd be a whole 30 minutes just on that. I used to watch wrestling back in the 80s on VHS tapes. I watched a little bit in the 90s and the Monday Night Wars, WCW versus WWF, Monday Night Raw, Nitro, where Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and DDP and Booker T and Goldberg, or Steve Austin, The Rock, Mick Foley, even people like Val Venus, things of that nature. Now, he wanted me to create my Dream WrestleMania card. He had certain things. It has to be 9-11 matches, each of these for the titles. Build a genuine card, not 11 main event matches. It was pretty hard for me to do that because genuine and dream doesn't really go hand in hand when I'm in my thought process. Because to be genuine matches, that's not really my Dream WrestleMania card. And plus, also with the way things are, everyone started off as new. So, and are we talking about different timelines? Are we talking about a Dream WrestleMania card in today? Because today, there is none. Like, there's barely many, except maybe like Bobby Lashley and a few others that, but not really anybody in today's age that I like in the wrestling circuit. So it's hard to do a dream card, but I just had to do it the way I could, so I apologize in advance, Jumpin' Galaxies, if this is not exactly what you wanted, because I just didn't know how else to do it. But I did come up with 11. First off, most of these belts I'm getting rid of, because that's one of the issues I have. I think there's too many fucking championships in the goddamn WWF. There's championship, okay, IC, I get world title, I get IC title, and I get tag team title. I think those are the only three you should have. But instead, it's like, here's the European title, here's the Cruiserweight title, here's the 24/7 title, here's the women's title, and there's the championship, and then there's the heavyweight championship. There's two championship titles for men, and then there's too many fucking belts. It gets confusing, so people are like, well, who's the champ? No, 3 belts. That's it. Champion, not 2. He's the champion, but he's the heavyweight champion. No, there's 1 champion. There's plenty of matches back to... It's like Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant back in the day. You can't do it because, well, this guy's smaller, or this guy's European. No. If you're the best, you're the best. And of course, it's all scripted anyway. We all know this. But just world title, intercontinental title, tag team. Fuck all the belts. And those are the last 3. It's tag team, then the IC, then the championship. So the 11 matches I put together. Oh, by the way, the announcers for this Dream WrestleMania card, Bobby the Brain Heenan and Jim Ross. Jim Ross is, I think, the best color commentator who's good. And Bobby Heenan, he's very funny. If you watch the Royal Rumble, was it 1992? The one that Ric Flair won, Bobby Heenan is a genius commentating on that match. Again, that's the Royal Rumble that Ric Flair won. I want to say it was 92, because I think Hulk Hogan won 90 and 91. So yeah, I think it was 92. Perhaps the best Royal Rumble match ever. And Bobby the Brain Heenan's commentary is a part of that. Of course, Bobby the Brain in his prime, Jim Ross in his prime, before the Bell's palsy. I know now he's in AEW, but I don't care about AEW. I don't really care about any wrestling today. I don't. I do not. But Bobby the Brain Heenan and Jim Ross are good and a bad, so that you argue. And you didn't really see those two work together. In fact, I wish it was Bobby the Brain Heenan and not Jerry the King Lawler during the Attitude Era. Because I think Bobby the Brain Heenan could have done a lot of cool, fun stuff. I wish he did not go to WCW at that time. I wish they kept him and made things easier, but have him... But I know he did it partly for his family, so that's an understandable notion. Rest in peace, Bobby the Brain Heenan, one of the best. So the matches, one, Cactus Jack versus Steak Roberts. I like Mick Foley. I use Cactus Jack because that's usually one where he definitely used his version of the DDT. I think it was a double underhook DDT. Jake the Snake Roberts team up with the DDT. And to me, it's the battle of the DDTs. Cactus Jack, Mick Foley versus Jake the Snake Roberts, because I think they both can work well psychology-wise. They seem like a natural fit. Mick Foley can take pain. Jake the Snake Roberts, like they just seem like a good fit for each other psychology-wise. And again, they both have their version of DDTs, so it's like, which is better? And for me, I would make Cactus Jack a villain. I would make Jake the Snake Roberts the hero, just as a change of pace, because I would have Jake win. He's the guy who started the DDT, master of the DDT. I think he did the best DDT where you put the head and you just don't slam the head right down to the mat. To me, the way Jake the Snake did it is one of the best finishing moves. And ultimately, that's what takes Cactus Jack down. Because Mick Foley has so many other personalities. Mankind, Dude Love. Even if Cactus Jack is done, there's all those other that he could go into in the future. But yeah, Cactus Jack, Jake the Snake, I think they would work well together. Number 2, this is a bit of a weird one, but again, it's a dream match. These guys at their prime. Roddy Piper versus CM Punk. The reason for that is because the promos alone, like in the build-up, would be fantastic. Whether you like or dislike CM Punk, he's good on the mic. Roddy Piper is one of the best on the mic. And I think they will work very well together promo-wise. Plus, I love Roddy Piper. I wanted him somewhere in the card. Roddy Piper as a wrestler, he's much more like a fighter, punching, things of that nature. He does do wrestling moves, but he's not like a big technical wrestler. But you got CM Punk who does a bit more moves. I think they really play off their different vibes, their different attitudes. You really get some maybe genuine fire and anger as they face off against each other. Who would win? Well, Roddy Piper would win because he never wants to lose, which I can understand. CM Punk. Honestly, CM Punk, I've lost a bit of luster with the way he's been in the past, 5 years. I'm like, you know what? Let him get taken down a peg or two. Plus, CM Punk has... They both can play villains fairly well. I think you have Roddy Piper as the good guy. This is like with the long hair when he's in the 90s. And like when he faced off against the Mountie. And he was a good guy, but he faced off against Bret Hart. When he faced the Mountie, I think that was the only championship he won, the IC belt. And then he lost to Bret Hart. That's one of the few people he trusted was Bret. So I would say Roddy Piper with that look, with the long hair, face off against CM Punk. Maybe him as part of the Straight Edge Society. And so they come in, Roddy Piper's punching the rest of the Straight Edge Society. Getting CM Punk. And CM Punk does have a good knack for talk he could always overcome it later. But yeah, the promos alone would be great. So Roddy Piper in his prime. I would say 90s Roddy Piper versus CM Punk. Number 3, I know it's a weird tag team match. I think it'd be interesting to see these 4 in the ring together. Because it'd be a nice technical match. Eddie Guerrero and Sean Waltman versus Mr. Perfect and Rey Mysterio. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio have history with each other. Sean Waltman, aka 123 Kid, X-Pac. I always liked him. I always was a fan of him. I always thought he was a bit of an underrated wrestler. He's a good technical wrestler. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, what more can be said? He needed to be on there somewhere. And it was hard to pick because these guys, these guys have worked together. So it's hard to create a match that hasn't been seen before. But again, maybe have where Sean Waltman, Kurt Hennig has some kind of feud. Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, 2 wonderful wrestlers. They definitely have had feuds in the past. So make it a bit different. I don't know who would win in that one. But Eddie Guerrero, Sean Waltman versus Mr. Perfect, Rey Mysterio, I think you could get a lot of fun out of that match. I think it could be a very exciting technical match. And that's something I've seen before. Those 4 in the ring together. Number 4, The Undertaker versus Sting. And this is, of course, these guys in their prime. The Undertaker in his prime. Sting with the crow makeup in his prime. I could not answer who would win. There's another one I don't know who would win. It's kind of a coin toss for me. It's a coin toss. What the fuck? Coin toss or a coin toss. What the fuck that is? It's a coin toss who would win. I think most people would pick the Undertaker, undefeated, WrestleMania. There's a part of me that's like, if there's one person to break this streak, it'd be nice to have a guy like Sting, who he's a WCW guy. He comes into WWF. How does he make his bid mark? He beats Undertaker. Undertaker has all these other wins. He can afford it. The one guy is a guy from WCW. Thus to give WCW some legitimacy. So part of me wants to go towards Sting beating Undertaker. That'd be interesting for people in the comments. Who would you have win? If both in their prime, Undertaker and Sting, who would you put to win and why? So I don't know. I'm kind of 50-50 on that. But the Undertaker, Sting, again, in their prime, I think you have something pretty nice there. Number 5. Those go sound strange at first. Booker T versus the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. For me, to do a much better version of the Virgil story. If you don't know Virgil, he was the chauffeur, a $1 Million Man, and then Virgil decided to fight back and finally stand up against the $1 Million Man. Wins, takes the $1 Million belt with him. Cool looking belt, dollar signs all studded with diamonds. I say better because Virgil was never that great of a wrestler. He really had no personality. He couldn't do promos. He was pretty boring in the ring. Booker T, not that Booker T was a chauffeur, but the $1 Million Man, he's the asshole. He's the villain. A little bit of racism. You want to put, you don't even have to say it's racist. Just he treats Booker T like shit. Treats Booker T as if he's, here's some money. Lick my boots. And Booker T beats him up. And then maybe $1 Million Man hires some guys to beat up Booker T. And you can get some animosity in between. And then Booker T beats $1 Million Man 1, 2, 3. Takes the money, throws it on his face. Takes the $1 Million belt. Goes back. Goes back home, whatever. So I think that'd be pretty. And both work well. They're good wrestlers. I've always been a fan of Booker T. $1 Million Man's a good villain. He knows how to be a good villain, and he's solid in the ring as well. Number 6, This is kind of a joke one. Well, no, not really. This don't sound weird, but this is why. Again, this is my dream WrestleMania, so I didn't do whatever I want. The Big Boss Man versus John Cena. And Big Boss Man kicks the shit out of John Cena, beats him 1, 2, 3. Because number one, that would never happen. Number two, I don't like John Cena. Number three, I'm a big fan of the Big Boss Man. Number four, real Law and Order beats the fuck out of the fake Marine. And that's how I put it. Because the guy, Big Boss Man, he really was in the correctional institution, like a guard at a prison. That was part of his real job. And that was part of where the gimmick came from with the Big Boss Man. He was first Bubba Rogers. He was the... he worked with Jim Cornette and other stuff. And I think WCW. And then got the call for the WWF. And then was a villain. Did programs with Hulk Hogan, among others. And then became a good guy when he got into the 90s. But the Big Boss Man... I just, he sees, finally have John Cena turn heel. It's my WrestleMania card. He's going to turn fucking turn fucking heel and suck dick like a seal. And he's a fake Marine, he's a phony, but I'm the real Law and Order here. I'm going to show you real Law and Order. And Big Boss Man beats the fuck out of John Cena. And you play off that Big Boss Man, there's no way he can win. I'm going to win because Law and Order, and Law and Order is going to win. And I'm going to make it happen. And, there's no way Big Boss Man can win. But he does it, 1, 2, 3. Oh my God, it's the Cinderella story. It's the Cinderella story of the night. Real Law and Order beat the fake-ass Marine. And he wins because fuck John Cena. And just to give a big fuck to you, fuck John Cena. Never liked John Cena. Diamond Dallas Page versus Brock Lesnar. I like Diamond Dallas Page. Brock Lesnar is a beast. To me, it's a David versus Goliath story. Plus, I think, DDP can do well in the promos. Paul Heyman has worked with Brock Lesnar. It's a David and Goliath story. You have DDP, who's got fun. He's got personality. He's got the diamond card. Can you get the diamond cutter on Brock Lesnar? Would that do anything? DDP doing the diamond cutter on Paul Heyman. I don't know who would win that one. I don't know. Some of these I don't know on who would win. I mean, my own personal, I would just say fuck it. I would make, like, Undertaker versus Sting. Fuck it, I'll make Sting win. Because Undertaker has had many WrestleMania wins. Let Sting... He never got his win in WWF. Sting's a guy who's great in WCW in his prime. He's a guy who could deserve it. Eddie Guerrero, Shawn versus Mr. Perfect. I would give it to Mr. Perfect and Rey Mysterio. That's more of a coin toss. And here, fuck it, DDP wins. I know there's like, that would never... Well, it's all scripted anyway, but... David versus Goliath. Brock Lesnar has been built up as the unstoppable beast. DDP, he got fucked over in WWF. They made him a stupid gimmick, the Stalker. They didn't know what the fuck to do with DDP, and when the Stalker and he's against Undertaker, they just killed his run in WWF. That would give him a good run at WWF. Brock Lesnar can survive it, because he's a big, tough motherfucker. And Brock Lesnar would have to do more than just fucking suplexes. He can do a couple suplexes, but I'd be like, Brock, if you wrestle, you have to do more than suplexes. You have to be the wrestler. The Brock I would want is the Brock from the 2003 era, not now. Because now, I like Brock, but the suplexes get old quick. Suplex 85. Back in the day, he actually would do different kinds of suplexes. He would do body slams. He would do other shit in the ring. Just lazy, the suplexes. Not lazy physically, but just like to structure a match just on that. Come on, there's got to be a bit more to it. A bit more variety would make it a bit more fun. Number 8, Ricky Steamboat versus Shawn Michaels. I have two very good technical wrestlers. I'm not a fan of Shawn Michaels as a person. I like him as a wrestler. He's exciting as a wrestler. He knows how to make a good match when he gives a shit. When he's not fucking around going over the top overselling. And Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he has the best, what the hell is that called? The drop downs, the arm takedowns, arm drags. That's what he has, the best arm drags in I've ever seen. Just really quick, and I think he'd be very good on technical note. And it'd be the Shawn Michaels like in the 90s when he was a villain. I'm a sexy boy. You know, have Sensational Sherry with him. It's when she's saying the song, the theme song. It'd be Sensational Sherry and Shawn Michaels versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And I would have Steamboat win. Not exactly like Macho Man Randy Savage and his match in WrestleMania 3, but I think you'd get a really nice technical match out of that. Now, the last three, the tag team. This is a bit tough with tag teams because for my Dream WrestleMania match, I need the Legion of Doom. I love the Legion of Doom, also known as the Road Warriors. But I know they're called the Road Warriors, but I always remember them as the Legion of Doom. And I'm like, who could they go up against in a Dream match? And I'm looking at other tag teams. I'm like, you know what? How about the Hardy Boys? I know this sounds weird, but to me, it'd be strength versus agility. Because if you just have powerhouse versus powerhouse, maybe they can't really do much in variety. But if you have power versus strength, which will win? I mean, power versus agility, strength versus speed, who could win? I think Hardy Boys would give it a good effort, a good fight. I would give it to the Road Warriors at the end of the day. The Rock, this is the Intercontinental title. The Rock versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Both in their prime. I don't think they've ever fought The Rock and Bret Hart. If they have, I apologize. Because I think when Bret was in... I think Bret was a good guy. And The Rock, they tried to make him a good guy when he debuted. And then by the time Bret left, after the Montreal Screwjob, and he was in WCW, that's when The Rock became a bad guy. So they never wrestled, Bret Hart and The Rock. And Bret Hart can do it. He did one of the best matches I've seen is Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin. Bret Hart versus Steve Austin, they didn't create that great match. Bret Hart can do it with The Rock. And The Rock is able to do a bit more physically. I think, yeah, The Rock in his prime, The Rock that was face off against Steve Austin, have that Rock versus Bret Hart. The guy wanting to get, candy asses, some bitch sideways, it doesn't matter what you think, versus the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Bret the Hitman Hart beats The Rock. Well, the IC, again, that's the weird thing. That's why it was hard for me to do a genuine card, because like Bret Hart, there was a time where he was with the IC title. He won it against Roddy Piper. So all these wrestlers had to work up. So at some time, all these wrestlers were in those levels. Like Stone Cold Steve Austin was at a level where he was at that shitty The Ringmaster with Ted DiBiase. And then, so I would say The Rock versus Bret Hart. Bret Hart wins. And the championship, I had to do this around the time he faced up Bret Hart. That's Stone Cold Steve Austin before the neck injury. Before the neck injury, Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Not Hulk Hogan, no. I've lost a lot of luster for Hulk Hogan. I just hiccuped, so my body also wanted to tell me that. I love Macho Man Randy Savage. I miss Macho Man Randy Savage. There's one brief time that him and Steve Austin fought in WCW when he was stunning Steve Austin. But actual prime Macho Man Randy Savage, the Macho Man Randy Savage of the Mega Powers, and then he with the Macho Man that fought against Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan WrestleMania, was it 5? And then Ultimate Warrior was that 7? I'm trying to remember, who did Macho Man fight in WrestleMania 6? Because, yeah, 6 was Hogan and Warrior. Macho Man, was that Dusty Rhodes? Might have been Dusty Rhodes. Can't remember. But, yeah, the Macho Man who fought Hulk Hogan and that prime Macho Man Randy Savage versus the Rattlesnake Stone Cold Steve Austin before the neck injury, but you know, he had that attitude. Though those personas, that'd be, I dare say that would be better than the Mega Powers. I mean, not Mega Powers, the WrestleMania 5 match with Macho Man and Hogan. That has the potential to be that even better. Because Steve Austin can do a little bit more than Hogan, and I think that'd be interesting to see those personas, Stone Cold and Macho Man, like the promos. Stone Cold and Macho Man. Can you imagine Stone Cold Steve Austin, the promos he would do in his prime, and then Macho Man in his prime? That'd be pretty interesting. I think that would be pretty damn interesting. What about other people? I mean, it's 11 cars. I can't fit everybody on there. Because like, I wanted to fit Edge in there or Andre the Giant. I didn't know where to fit him in there, honestly. But these are, again, the 11 matches I have. Cactus Jack, Mick Foley versus Jake the Snake Roberts. Battle of the DDTs. Jake wins. Roddy Piper versus CM Punk. Roddy Piper from the 90s versus CM Punk. I would give it to Roddy Piper. Eddie Guerrero, Sean Waltman versus Mr. Perfect Rey Mysterio. I would give it for Mr. Perfect and Rey Mysterio. The Undertaker versus Steen. I'd give it to Steen. Let him make a big impression in WWF. Booker T versus the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. Booker T wins. Big Boss Man versus John Cena. Big Boss Man wins because fuck you, John Cena. Miss Big Boss Man. Diamond Dallas Page versus Brock Lesnar. David versus Goliath. A big tough fight, but DDP barely wins with one last diamond cutter. Ricky Steamboat versus Shawn Michaels. Good technical match. Steamboat wins. Legion of Doom. Road Warriors versus the Hardy Boys. Strength versus agility. Strength wins at this round. Road Warriors win. The Rock versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Master of Execution gets the move on The Rock. The sharpshooter. The Rock can act it out. He's good at acting. And all that. He finally taps out. Hard fight. And Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Macho Man Randy Savage. Again, long, hard fight. Ultimately, Stone Cold Steve Austin wins. I was one. I wasn't sure about that last one because I want to see Macho Man Randy Savage win a match, but I didn't know who to put him up against. I just think Macho Man Stone Cold, that'd be great to see, and I just couldn't have Stone Cold lose. Can't help it. I mean, maybe if it was good guy Macho Man versus Stone Cold when he was kind of a villain with Bret Hart before they kind of did the switch, and there was a short time where people did boo Stone Cold Steve Austin. Maybe, but I don't know. There's always a rematch. I mean, look what happened with Steve Austin and The Rock. 3 matches. Stone Cold won 2. The Rock finally won the third and last one at WrestleMania. God, was that 19? Was it WrestleMania 19? Yeah, because I think it was 15, 17, and 19, I believe. And 19, The Rock finally won. And that's kind of the last match Steve Austin did. So, that's my Dream WrestleMania card. I'm sorry if that's not exactly what you wanted, but feel free to make for anyone out there, feel free to write down or do a video what your Dream WrestleMania card would be. I mean, for me, I took away the European and Cruiserweight because, like, fuck all of these belts. Just have 3 belts. That's it. You have too goddamn many. It becomes fucking meaningless and confusing. Just 3. God damn it. But with that said, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.